time to review American Ninja Warrior. This worked out better in my head, I swear. Vegas! Yes! It's time! Finally! It's the best time of the season. American Ninja Warrior is back at Vegas for the national finals at the grammatically incorrect Mount Midoriyama. Oh, I am so excited and so happy we are back to these rounds. I love Midoriyama. Let me put this perfectly clear. A mediocre stage 1 is better than a good semifinal course as far as I'm concerned, because there is no matching the spirit of Midoriyama in the original Ninja Warrior, the original Sasuke vibe. You know, American Ninja Warrior, they had to add all these extra episodes to make the season longer, and you got all these leagues out there trying to change up what ninja as a sport is, and, you know, American Ninja Warrior, they try to claim that they're a sport. At the end of the day, to me, it's still, Ninja Warrior still is, and forever will be, a 4-stage obstacle course where it is just you versus the course. You get one shot, you go in the water, or you time out, you're out. And it doesn't matter what anyone tries to do to the format. The original is still Ninja Warrior to me, and there is no replacing the original. That's how much I love Midoriyama, the traditional 4-stage obstacle course. So, let's talk about this course now, shall we? Stage 1 has quite a few new obstacles this time around. 68 people qualified. And the format, in terms of how it's presented on television, was a little different than I was expecting. So when I did predictions, I thought they were still doing what they had done many times in the past, which was 2 episodes of Stage 1 and then 2, 3, and 4 all in one episode. That is when there's 3 episodes for Vegas instead of 4. Now, that's not the case. Instead, this episode was all Stage 1, and then next week's episode will be half Stage 1, half Stage 2. But not all Stage 2, part of Stage 2. So I presume the 3rd episode is going to be like half Stage 2, half Stage 3 / final stage in the final segment. That is going to be interesting to see. Makes me wonder how many people are going to clear Stage 3 then. It might be more than my prediction of 5. But could be wrong. So this time around for Stage 1, we had 8 obstacles, or 9 obstacles, depending on how you look at it. I didn't think of this. I never considered them adding split decision to Vegas. I just thought that they would have kept that at a qualifier and semifinal level, but no, they added it to Stage 1, and it's entirely possible we might see split decision in Stages 2 and 3 now. I'm actually fully, I would say I expect it now. I am curious how they're going to handle split decision in Stage 3, though, because, they wouldn't put a balance obstacle in Stage 3, would they? That seems like a bad idea. But we'll get to that. First up, new obstacle called the Slide Surfer. It's kind of like they took the diving boards, but they made it so that when you step on them, they move and tilt down. It's like, which is interesting. And then number 2 is another new obstacle called Swinging Blades. You hit the trampoline, you got these pair of axe-shaped holds. They're at these angles right there. You grab one, so it's all about twisting your body, making sure you keep the right momentum. It's a very similar idea to spin your wheels, except you don't have that awkwardness of the dismount that spin your wheels had. Because if you remember with Spin Your Wheels, a lot of people, they landed on like this part of the landing platform and like fell off or got close to falling off. So the swinging blades really kind of eliminated that need. Then we had Double Dipper once again in Stage 1. I think they're going to keep this one for a long time. It's of all the sliding obstacles that ANW has put in Stage 1, Double Dipper is honestly the best, and I can't imagine them getting rid of it anytime soon. I personally did not notice any differences. And then, once again, the one obstacle that has never been removed from Stage 1 in ANW's version of Midoriyama, the Jumping Spider. It has been there forever, and more people than usual failed the Jumping Spider. One thing to mention, I'll get to that in a minute, was there's a lot of wind and a lot of dust being kicked up, so to my understanding, that Jumping Spider was a little bit dusty. Then Obstacle 5 was Tire Run, once again. It didn't look like there was any major changes from last time. 6 is the Warped Wall, same as last time also. It is kind of redundant having Warped Wall in Vegas, even though it is traditional to do so, because that's what it was like in Sasuke, but because you only have the top people moving on to the national finals, almost everyone has experience clearing the Warped Wall, and even though there is technically a smaller run-up with the curved aspect, they can do it, If we would see a lot more people fail the Warped Wall if more people got to compete in the national finals. But we don't. So we don't. And then, this is where things get a little bit complicated. So before the 7th obstacle, there is a button, which they'll press to release the high road, because 8 has a split decision. If they choose to release the high road, it'll release a ring that will glide down, but they have to catch it. So in order to catch that, they have to clear obstacle 7, which is the Dipping Birds. Now, granted, keep in mind, they don't have to press the button if they don't want to. Dipping Birds is honestly, as far as visually is concerned, is disappointing. It's 3 pillars, they're flat platforms, you step on them, and they tilt forward. And they're staggered, so boom, boom, boom. And I'm sure there's a challenge to it, but visually, it's very underwhelming. And ANW's really been struggling to put an obstacle in that spot. And on one hand, I get that, they've sticking to this skeleton of putting a balance obstacle in spot 7, because they've been doing it forever. But they haven't really been doing a good job of, fulfilling that, Diving boards, conceptually, was a good obstacle to put in that spot, but it's kind of dangerous. So I guess they decided not to. They wanted to, I don't know, I guess have an obstacle that's doable with the high road. So this is the point for obstacle 8, where you have a choice between the fly hooks or the high road. Basically, if you cross the Dipping Birds fast enough after pressing the button, you can run, jump on a trampoline, and grab the ring, and it'll take you to a ladder, a metal ladder, that you can climb up and hit the buzzer. Or you can do the fly hooks, which is basically a sky hook, but the hooks themselves are on pendulums where you swing back and forth. So you're swinging one ring you go from ring to hook, and then you jump to the cargo net, which you have to climb and then hit the buzzer. Cargo net's harder to climb than the metal ladder. So if you're running low on time, it's probably a good idea to go for the high road and try to just get the faster exit. But it's a bit riskier because you got to time your jump right, and you have to get up high enough to even grab the ring, as we saw a few times. All in all, there's a 2-minute and 45-second time limit. That seems kind of high, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Some of these clears make me think that, maybe They could have cut the time down a little, but at the same time, they probably want a certain amount of clears, considering only 68 people are running. So we'll see what the final results are come next episode. Because, we already got 12 clears, so it's entirely possible that my prediction of 23 might be accurate, depending on how they edit the rest of Stage 1. But we'll have to see what happens with that. One of the things that I mentioned is that it was very windy. And I was told some backstage info about Stage 1, and I was actually given permission to share this story from one Thomas Stillings, who unfortunately had an early exit this season, but served as a course tester for the rest of the season for ANW. Now, Thomas was there. He tested Stage 1. And he was kept, all the testers are kept separate from the competitors because they want to make sure that, there's no conversing going on about strategies on how to actually complete the obstacles. Now, one thing that you saw was that it was very windy on the course. In fact, it was so windy that they had to evacuate the filming site a couple of times. For those of you unaware, Nevada state law dictates that for any filming set, once the wind reaches a certain level, in terms of certain speed, you must leave the set. And apparently, it was very strong. Apparently, like I was told that you could see the final stage tower rocking in the wind. That's how strong the wind was. And you go back and watch the episode, it was very obviously blowing very hard with that wind. Because people's hairs, people's clothes were just, flapping in the wind. It was a very strong wind that night. In fact, normally they would film Stage 1 in just one night. That's how they always, meant to do it with ANW production. But they got so many delays that they actually had to do it in 2 nights instead of just one. They couldn't do it all in one because they got so behind schedule because of this wind. It sounded pretty crazy just how fast this wind was blowing. But here's a key thing that happened, which was pretty funny to me. So like I said, they kept the testers and the competitors separate, and during one of these delays, probably the first one, might not have been the first one, Stillings decides to send a text message to one of the competitors, because the competitors, like I said, different area, they can't see the course where they are, apparently. At least they can't see Stage 1. So Stillings sends a text to one of the competitors saying, "Oh my god, the warped wall just fell over." And this caused a bit of mass hysteria amongst the competitors, wondering, oh my god, is the season ruined? Is Stage 1 canceled? What's going to happen? It sounded hilarious. And basically Stillings decided to prank them. And some people thought it was funny. Some people have no sense of humor, apparently. I'm fully on board with that. I think the fact that he tricked people into thinking that the warped wall fell over, because, on paper, it sounds plausible. The winds are very strong. You saw the final stage rocking. Maybe the warped wall did fall over. It's the one obstacle that I think would fall over if from the wind. So he picked it perfectly. But yeah, so there was a bit of pranking going on set. Oh, that's great. That is just great. Good on you, Thomas. You're a smart man. So let's talk about the actual episode. So, the intro heavily featured the teenagers. That was a big story. Makes me a little worried about picking Jake Murray for the final stage victory, but I'm sticking by it. But they also feature the veterans, but it was mostly teenagers. It was a big story. There was actually an audience there, not as much as you've seen in seasons past, but there was an audience. They still did the live reactions from family members for each competitor. I get the feeling that most of the audience was like Vegas, Nevada locals, maybe some staff, who knows. That's the impression I got. Because they didn't really show people in the audience who were like friends and family. So first up was 16-year-old Christian Yost, which they used as an excuse to air a package about the history of teenagers in this season and how there's 18 total teenagers who qualified for Las Vegas of the 68 competitors. Pretty good. Pretty good. So if you might remember in the past, Christian likes playing retro arcade video games. He's a man of good taste. And throughout the entire time, Matt and Akbar kept making references to video games. Now, at one point, they did say, oh, this is kind of like Super Mario. Fun fact, Sasuke was originally inspired by Super Mario Brothers, so that's appropriate. Yes, that obstacle is like Super Mario because the entire course is like Super Mario. Although they then went on to say that I believe the jumping spider is kind of like Frogger, which I don't really see the connection. By the way, I watched the trailer for that new Frogger game show that's coming to Peacock, and it looks like hot garbage. I'm sorry. It does. So, Christian's run was pretty fine overall, but he went for the high road, and he got to there seemingly in time, but he didn't jump for it, which is a common theme in this episode. You get a lot of people who, like, they make it to the platform, they could go for it, make the jump, grab the ring, but they don't. And Christian was the first person this season we saw to it, so he ended up going for the fly hooks, but he ran into a big problem. When he was trying to make the jump from the first hook to the second hook, he got stuck. He couldn't get the right uplift to get the ring off the hook. But he did that twice, I believe. Maybe even a third time. I don't remember. It took multiple tries to finally get it up. And he didn't get onto the cargo net until, like, at least 10 seconds. When there was only 10 seconds left. So, unfortunately, he timed out at the cargo net. And he is eliminated. Good effort, but unfortunately not meant to be. It was a good showcase of the course while still showcasing a fail. So I appreciate that. Then was Kam Bomgarner. They had a very long, quite frankly, too long, promo talking about how he's a nanny and the family that he watches over. A manny, or whatever you want to call it. I don't like to use the word manny because that just thinks of people with the name Manuel. So, whatever. Shockingly, Kam ended up going out early on swinging blades. He, from the trampoline to the first blade, I believe his left hand just whiffed, and he couldn't hold it with one hand, and he fell straight in the water. Shocking fall. His poor girlfriend was devastated. He'll be back. He's a good competitor, but early, one of my picks to move on to stage 2, already blown out the window. Ah, boy. After commercial break, they showed Megan Rowe. Did a quick info on her background. I like these quick profiles. I wish they would do more just to fit some more people. Took forever on the swinging blades, is what I wrote here. She spent a long time transferring from blade to blade. Wasted too much time in my mind. And she ended up going out on the double dipper, the old double D. Couldn't keep her grip on the second half, on the downward portion, and she just peeled off, just went straight down. She went same grip, forward grip, instead of the reverse grip. You got to try to get reverse grip to get a better grip on the double dipper. Then they went with Nate Hansen. And, this was the worst profile of the episode. Like I said in the past, ANW comedy can either be hit or miss, and it tends to be more miss than hit. And sometimes when they miss, they really miss. And this really missed. So, the story here is that Nate lives with Austin Gray, Kevin Carbone, Joni Muniz, and Austin's girlfriend. And they were trying, so with the exception of Austin's girlfriend, so 4 ninjas living together. They train together. They all have personalities and stuff. And they tried so hard to make it like quirky sitcom or quirky friends living in the same house. And it's just, I'm just sitting there just going, oh my God, please just move on. Just move on. Just move on. End this. Please just end this. And this makes me think that, like, with some of these lengths of some of these profiles, they could have just fit some more fast forwards. Because I got the feeling that not everyone is going to be shown who made it to stage 1, which I honestly don't like. And so if there's anyone who gets cut, all I can think is, like, profiles like these that are way too long, and it's like, you could have fit some fast forwards here. You very easily could have. Nate, unfortunately, as you might know, you might have noticed that Nate has a growth hormone deficiency. I feel like, you might have missed that. I don't feel like they mentioned it enough for you to notice this. He's only 5'2". But unfortunately, when attempting the jumping spider, he couldn't get in deep enough, and he fell straight into the water. Seemed like he had a good, he took it well, I should say. So, good on you, Nate. Looking forward to seeing you next season. Did I pick him? No, I didn't. Good. And so, in Fast Forwards, Joni Muniz, who I mentioned, is an alternate. He wasn't the only alternate. There was 2 alternates. I knew one of them going in, and they even showed you in this episode, was Daniel Gill. I am curious who the other one is. I'm keeping track of seeing who actually ran. So by the end of next episode, I should know who the other person who didn't make it to stage 1 of Vegas, who qualified. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But unfortunately, Jonah failed the run-up part of Tire Run, which is like arguably the easiest part of the obstacle. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone fail the run-up without even attempting the jump to the handle. It's very surprising. And then Devin Alexander, he's the one with the mother named Pow. He unfortunately failed the jump portion of the jumping spider. Then they showed Isaiah Thomas, another one of our teenagers, only 16. One of the main features, I would say the main feature of his profile piece was that he trained with Karsten Williams, what I believe is Ninja Nation. And this guy was doing very well. He did very well on this course. He had about 1:27 at the Wart Wall. Great pace. Didn't jump for the high road. He could have gone for it, but he chose not to. It's one of those ones where he got there early, could have jumped, but he's like, I'll just do the fly hooks instead. And he did, and he cleared with 31.12 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time. In his interview with Zuri Hall, he was very confident about his performance on the rest of the course. He makes it clear that he thinks he's going to the final stage. And you know what? You need confidence on this show. That, especially when it comes to Midoriyama, because confidence is what's going to help you get to the final stage, because Ninja is just as much a mental battle as a physical battle. If you believe, you can achieve. So, after a commercial break, they then showed Nate Pardo, who failed on the dipping birds. Went a little too fast and fell in. And then this one crushed me. Rachel DeGuts, she didn't let go the dismount of Double Dipper, and she spent what was probably a long time holding on the end, trying to rebuild up her momentum in order for get the dismount, and she couldn't get the dismount. Wasn't even close to getting a dismount, and that is such a rookie mistake, Rachel. You gotta let go on that. There's no recovery in that sort of situation. You need the momentum. So sad. She's a force to look out for, though. Then they showed Ava Colasanti, another one of our teenagers, 16 years old. They showed, I noticed that they showed the NNL Season 6 Worlds footage, which is funny because that took place, I believe, after Vegas was filmed. So, bit of a time loop situation. She was slow on the swinging bridge, and unfortunately she couldn't stick the landing of the jumping spider, so her season ended there. But again, Ava is one of those women to definitely look out for in the future. She's done very well in the NNL this past year, and I think she will continue to do well in the future. Then they showed Amir Malik. He fosters dogs. All right. Honestly, if I wasn't allergic, like extremely allergic to animal hair, I'd consider getting a dog, or a cat, because, I mean, man, a friendly dog is just so nice. It makes you feel good. But I can't, so I won't. Maybe I could get a snake, or an iguana. That doesn't have hair. Plus, if it's a snake, I can train it to attack people and kill him. Although, there might be a bit of a risk if I have a poisonous snake as a pet. But I want to rethink that. Anyway, he was celebrating his 21st birthday. Hooray! And unfortunately, he failed Double Dipper. Oh no. This was actually a pretty funny failure, because in the transfer from the first half of Double Dipper to the second, when he let go of the bar, he let go way too late. So when he let go, he went up instead of out towards the next bar. So instead, when he went into the air, he was like, ah, into the water, unfortunately. But, you know, Amir is definitely someone to look out for in the future. I don't need to tell you that. He's already proved it these past 2 seasons. Hopefully we'll see more for him too soon. And then, in more fast forwards after the commercial break, Casey Rothschild unfortunately messed up the jump to the swinging blades and fell on that obstacle. And then Owen Dyer, with his flamingo hat, attempted jumping spider but failed there. Matt Bradley, name I've seen a lot in NNL. His parents bought a barn, turned it into a home course, y'all. And then, this was really cool. They showed how his dad used his engineering skills to build the obstacles, and he's showing Matt how he does it. So not only is he learning ninja, he's learning engineering. Yes, 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 thank you. I love combining engineering and ninja as someone with an engineering degree who has used engineering to think of ideas for obstacles and has built homemade obstacles in the past, and even ran a Ninja Warrior inspired show at his engineering college. I appreciated this profile piece very much. Oh, and then immediately they ruined the good vibes by showing him throwing up before the course. So he's at the storyline, a starting line, and Matt's like, before the course, he was vomiting outside. And they showed the tail end, but it's like, dude, why is the cameraman sneaking up on Matt Bradley vomiting? It was gross. So gross. He had a minute 20 at the Wart Wall. He was going for a very good pace. Now, one thing we didn't learn till at the end, he actually missed the transfer of the Double Dipper with one hand at first, but he was able to recover and grab it again. He was going for the reverse. He grabbed the one that was facing forward. The reverse hand missed, but he was able to grab again before gravity forced him to lose his grip on the hand that had it. So he was able to make that recovery. He hit the high row button with his nose and was very clearly just did it for funsies and chose not to actually go for it. Now, one of the things that I did on my channel was I asked in the community section what you thought of Stage 1. And a common criticism that I got of Stage 1 that I saw was that so many people looked like they were going for High Road, but then they didn't go for it. So, like, you weren't allowed to commit to it, you know? And so, I understand that criticism. Basically, the whole idea was that, there's no reason to not press the button, basically. Because you're not committed to going for the high road. It's not like the fly hooks are blocked off from you to do it. And it's probably for the better, because it would be very, honestly, very lame to just have a bunch of people get DQ'd because they couldn't, because the ring left before they could even make the jump for it. So, on one hand, that's true, but I understand the concerns of people who didn't like the fact that it was non-committal for the high road, but at the same time, I understand why they chose to go that way. Also, in the poll I brought up right now, and it looks like so far 86% of you, I should say, liked the Stage 1 course overall. Overall, I liked it too. Just want to say, but is it the best Stage 1 they've ever done? I don't know. I don't feel like it's the best Stage 1 they've ever done, but I did really enjoy watching it. I will say that I did rewatch a portion of the episode, fast throwing through all the profile pieces, and it is more enjoyable to just have run. I wish maybe ANW would just, for once in their lives, just get the editing done in a way so that they can show run in more of an order without super focusing on profile pieces, Once we get to Stage 2, if we're still getting extended profile pieces for people that we've already seen 2 to 3 times, that's when you've officially jumped the shark. But we won't know until next week, so let's see what happens. But in the end, Matt Bradley ended up clearing the course with a time of 24.52 seconds remaining, and good on him. Did I pick him? I didn't. I almost picked him. I should have picked him, but I didn't pick him. Shame. In more fast forwards, Abel Gonzalez failed to stick the landing of Jumping Spider, and it was considered a big shock because, the guy's made it to Stage 3 before. And then, once again, Eric Middleton, he also failed the Jumping Spider landing. Again, this is a man who's been to Stage 2 before he's beaten Stage 1. I picked him to beat Stage 1. He did beat Stage 1. And John Uga failed in the middle of the Jumping Spider. He stuck the landing, and in the middle of the actual spider walk portion, he slipped right off. And it's like, oh, it's got to be the dust, man. It's got to be the dust messing with these people's shoes and stuff. Very disappointing, unfortunately. But, that's Ninja. It happens. Then they showed Tiana Weberly. She almost slipped on the swinging bridges, the landing platform. She was going very slow. And I don't know if it's a case of, she didn't have a good time management. I think it was just more of a case of, she was going as fast as she could, but she really couldn't go much faster. She had a little bit of difficulty on the warped wall. She had 50 seconds left. And the thing that gets me is that she still could have possibly cleared the course. She hit the button for the high road, went for the dipping birds, went across the dipping birds, but she had a bit of a stumble with the landing platform. She only landed halfway through the landing platform and had to pull herself up, and she could have gone for the high road, but she hesitated because it looked like it was a little too far away, and it's ooh, if she had gotten that high road, I think she could have cleared stage 1. That is the exact reason for the high road to be there, is that when you're low on time, you can just essentially skip the last obstacle, but there's a bit of a risk. I wish she had committed to that jump to the ring, just so we can know if she could have done it. But we'll never know. Unfortunately, she ended up timing out on the fly hooks, but man, I wish she went for it, because I think she would have cleared stage 1. It would have been very close. Even climbing up a ladder, it would have been very close, but I think it could have been done. So close to getting another woman to clear stage 1, but didn't happen. Didn't happen. In more fast forwards, Francisco Barras unfortunately failed the double dipper. Darren Perez missed the first handle of tire run and fell there. And then they fast forward Sean Bryan. Please stop fast forwarding Sean Bryan. But he cleared in with 25.41 seconds left. And it's funny how in the fast forward segment they're like, oh yeah, he's one of the people who could win it all. And it's like, well, if you're fast forwarding him on stage 1, he's probably not the one who's going to win it all. I'm just saying. And then they showed Adam Rail. This was weird. This profile piece. He moved to California and went on a whole spiritual journey. Had a spiritual guide, and it was very different from like everything that we have ever seen from Adam Rail. I maybe it's just because of how different it was, but I found it very surprising and kind of, yeah, I don't want to say weird. It's weird in the sense that like this isn't something we see a lot from ANW about people going on a spiritual journey. But, you know, I guess if it works for him, then fine. He spent a long time on tire run with the dismounts of the handles, especially the second dismount. He had 1:06 at the warped wall, which is kind of cutting it close. I mean, we saw what happened with Tiana having 50 seconds left. And he really should have gone for the high road, but he didn't even hit the button. And then, like, he spent what I would consider too much time sizing up the tipping birds. He had 30 seconds left at the flying hooks. That's what it's called, right? Right. And I'm just like, is he going to make it in time? So he tries to get up the net as fast as he can. He has 10 seconds left at the net. Just trying to read my notes there. I can't read my handwriting sometimes. And he's getting up there, and he hits the buzzer. Now, they take the clock off the screen because they don't want you to know if he hit the button in time. Now, with that said, before I even talk about whether or not he cleared, there's two things I want to talk about. Number one of the things that I noticed is that, bizarrely, he grabbed the first hook and the ring. He had one hand on the hook, one hand on the ring. When he jumped up to the first ring, he grabbed the hook also with one of his two hands. I don't know if that's legal, and if it wasn't legal, maybe they just turned away, pretended they didn't see it, or if that's a case of it is legal, but they just didn't, no one else really did it, because I didn't notice anyone else doing it. So that surprised me. It confused me, I should say. Alright, now getting back to the button. So he presses the button, and we see both the smoke and the timeout buzzer go off. And I have been criticizing American Ninja Warrior for years. Literally years. The first time this happened was ANW 5, where someone, I don't remember who it was at this point, it's been a long time. I think it is someone that I should know who they are, but I don't remember. Hits the button, thinks he cleared, turns out he didn't clear, even though the smoke went off, because he was too late. And I don't understand. why they don't have a lockout system for the buzzer. When you hit the buzzer before the clock hits 0, the timer should stop, and the timeout buzzer should never go off. Reversely, if time runs out, the sparklers should never go off when you hit the button. This is something that Sasuke figured out in their very first edition of the tournament in 1999. 1999! Wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. It just dawned on me. It wasn't 1999. It was 1997! 1997! It's been decades. This technology of locking up the button from the timer has been around for decades. And ANW, despite having a huge budget, a much larger budget than Sasuke, can't figure this out. Why? There is no excuse. I think I know why, but I don't want to accuse them of something. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous that this is still an issue. Years later. It's been... How long? What's 13 minus 5? 8. It's been 8 years since the first time this happened on American Ninja Warrior. This shouldn't be an issue. Should have figured this out. The button and the timer should lock each other out. It's not that hard, people. Anyway, I will say, unlike other times where they had close calls, they took the timer off the screen, which is smart because if it was on the screen, I probably would have figured out right away whether or not he had cleared. But when you don't have a timer on the screen, it becomes a lot harder to gauge. He ended up clearing with 1/10 of a second left, which means if they're still using the slowest clear time goes first on stage 2 formula that they use that they don't tell you about because they rearrange the order, that means that he'll be going first. So look forward to that in stage 2. But hey, he cleared, he's moving on. At the end of the day, I was right. That's all that matters. In more fast forwards, Deshaun Harris face planted on the platform of the very first obstacle, and he fell on the first obstacle, which is bad enough to fall on the first obstacle in a regular Ninja Warrior if it was Sasuke, but to do it in an ANW style show where you had to qualify to get there, that sucks. I can't imagine how much that sucks. And then I said they were going to do this, and I was right. Kevin Carbone, despite having an intro that involved him literally popping out of a box, got fast-forwarded, and he cleared. I predicted they would do exactly that. And I also said that they would fast-forward Tyler Gillette clearing, and which they did. Kevin cleared with 12.62 seconds left, and Tyler cleared with 25.9 seconds left. But this is a case just like last year with Vegas. Like, last year, I mean 2 years ago. But Kevin and Tyler, they both made to stage 3. They got to fast forward all 3 stages. They made it to stage 3. They got no real airtime. And they're doing it again. And they got... Did they have any real airtime in the first... In the qualifiers and semifinals? I don't remember them getting like actual featured runs. I don't get what's going on here. I just don't. It's weird. They keep inviting them back, but they don't want to feature them all that much. I don't understand. Anyway, next up was Lucas Reale. And this profile, I should have realized that it was really spoiling what was about to happen, but it never clicked in my head. So they were talking about what the competitors call the Stage 3 curse, where currently only 7 of the 21 people who made it to Stage 3 in ANW 11 are still in the competition. Now, to be fair, not everyone who made it to Stage 3 competed this year in Stage at all in this season. Some people didn't get the call back from their application, and one person is in jail. So I don't think it's fair to consider them part of the 21, considering they couldn't actually, compete. That's just me, Maybe not do a profile piece that can maybe remind people of the guy currently awaiting court for horrible things to children. Just saying. Maybe you might want to reconsider that. Anyway, Lucas had a really good run on Stage 1 overall. Had a minute 25 left at the warped wall. Unfortunately, he decided to go for the high road. And he got to the high road early. Arguably too early. He went for the jump, but he jumped too early. He jumped before the ring even got to him. And in replay you can see he didn't even jump high enough to begin with, because he tried jumping from the trampoline instead of having a run up. And you can tell right away that he knew it, and he was so disappointed that he went for it. And the worst part is that he didn't need to go for the high road. He could have cleared the fly hooks very easily in no time. And it's like, I feel like this is going to be one of those decisions where Lucas is probably kicking himself. He's a pretty positive guy, so I think he's over it at this point. That's my impression. But man, hindsight being 2020, you didn't need to go for that, man. I picked you. So sad, so sad. Then they showed Isabella Wakeham, and I'm glad. Normally I'd be angry at them copping out on a bet, but I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they copped out on a bet, because they said that if both her and her brother, Isaiah, made it to Vegas, then she would get a tattoo. And I'm like, that's permanent. I don't really like any sort of tattoo bets in that way. But it turns out she ended up getting 2 temporary, very clearly temporary tattoos of Matt and Akbar. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with it. It's a quick little gag, and I'm okay with it. It's whatever. So Isabella had a pretty decent run going on at first, but she needed to pick up the pace. She had a minute left at Tara Run, and then 30 seconds left at the warped wall. And she just, she ended up failing dipping birds and timing out all at the same time. So I think it's technically she timed out on dipping birds, but she failed it also. And it's also worth mentioning that bizarrely, Matt, I should say, claimed that Isabella made it to the 8th obstacle. And I'm just like, no, she didn't. She clearly didn't. She hit the landing platform and fell back into the water. But in no way is that considered a clear because she hit the landing pad. I'm sorry. If that's a rule, saying that even touching the landing pad counts as clearing the obstacle, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I feel like this is something I ranted about weeks ago, years ago, I should say, in some sort of semifinal, but I can't remember, and I honestly don't care enough to think about it. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Isabella did not make it to the 8th obstacle. She clearly failed the 7th. Anyway, in more fast forwards, Jay Lachey Lewis shockingly failed the double dipper. He was short on the landing. He didn't get enough distance on the dismount. Oh, that's disappointing. The NNL champ is down. Max Feinberg cleared with 9.03 seconds left. So that was one of my picks. Yay. And then they showed Vance Walker. They, after all the profiles of praising him in the semifinals and qualifiers, now they got serious. It's time for the dramatic turn, where they highlighted the cerebral palsy that he was born with and had to, I don't know, rehab is the right word or not, from how to overcome. And they even mentioned that he was having trouble with his hips on the spider trap because of the cerebral palsy. So they did tie it into Ninja. Honestly, it's great to see someone with a physical disability that he had basically overcome it and is doing so well at Ninja. What's interesting is that throughout his entire run, they kept saying, oh yeah, he's never failed an obstacle. I don't want to say keep saying. They mentioned it. But like, normally I would hear something like that and be like, oh, okay, they're just like, you know, they're telegraphing that he's going to fail. Because that's normally what you think when you hear ANW. But, to be fair, they've been mentioning this all season. In the qualifiers, they're like, oh yeah, in ANW Junior, he won both seasons and he never failed an obstacle. And then he didn't fail an obstacle. He cleared the qualifier course. In fact, he beat the Mega Wall and got $10,000. Then the semifinal course, he's like, he's undefeated. He's never failed an obstacle. And then he cleared the semifinal course. And even on stage 1, they're like, never failed an obstacle. He cleared stage 1 and finished with 20.82 seconds left. I almost get the feeling that Vance, they might be kind of stealth editing him. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. They might be kind of, they put him in this spot in stage 1 so you don't think too hard about the fact that he's going to be the one to either get Last Ninja Standing or the $1 million. That's just me kind of like thinking about the editing right now. Try to meta. Because, I don't know. I get the feeling, the way that he was presented in this episode, I get the feeling he's at least making the stage 3. Which is good for me, because I picked him to go to stage 3 from the beginning. But yeah, if I had to pick one teenager who could win the $1 million based on their presentation, it's Vance. Because he still has the safety pass, too. That's the crazy thing. So, I think there's a high chance he's moving on to stage 3. And then in more fast-forward segments, True Becker, unfortunately, failed this jump to the second handle of Tire Run. He was destroyed he was trapped by the tire spitting out from underneath him that other people have failed in the past. So sad, so sad. Elijah Browning cleared with 8.52 seconds left. And as a reward, Akbar signed his Akbar Bajabiamila NFL football card, thus increasing the value of the card so he can sell it online. Well, at least he made it clear that he was selling it online, unlike the many, many people who get autographs from celebrities just so they can sell them online. So, at least he's honest about it. And then, this is where they did the Daniel Gill update. They did a interview with him over the internet. He got COVID. They didn't say how. It seemed like he was either at the tail end of COVID or he was asymptomatic. But either way, he had it, unfortunately. And I hope that, I hope he is able to, I don't know. It probably could have been prevented. And I hope he and his wife are more careful in the future. And people around him are more careful. Just people in general, just be careful. Man, there's still a virus going on around here. I'm careful. Please be careful. I'm sorry. So they showed Joni Avila taking the course. He was his replacement, which makes sense. He took 16th place in the semifinal that Daniel competed in. I am kind of curious what they would have done if Daniel won the safety pass. Would it had gone to Burkhart, or would it just been thrown out, and we only would have had 3 safety passers? Don't know. We'll never find out. I guess maybe I could email the producers, but I doubt that they'll answer me. I honestly thought that Jody was going to clear, because I thought they could. I mean, they usually don't like to show alternates. They very easily could have just not shown Jody. Just say, hey, Daniel's got COVID. They do the whole interview part, but skip the mentioning of Jody as your replacement part. But they showed him. I thought he was going to clear, and then he didn't clear. He fell in the dipping birds, kind of rushed. Looked like he was rushing in order to get to the high road, because he was a bit slow out of the gate after he pressed the button. That's the impression I got. But yeah, he hit the dipping birds, hit it hard, unfortunately. It kind of seems like an obstacle where he's at a bit of a disadvantage because of his weight. But that's the impression that I got from that. So yeah, unfortunately, he failed the dipping birds and not moving on. We'll have to, we'll have to wait and see until next year how the big dog ninja does. At least I got to say it one more time. Moving on. And then it was one of my boys, Donovan Matoya. I was so happy to see him finally get some featured this season, because they've been either skipping him or fast forwarding him, and it's like, come on, you gotta showcase him, and he gets showcased, and it's like, hooray! Surprisingly slow on the slide surfer in the beginning. He did the whole like surf skateboard, like slide the plank then jump, slide the plank then jump. It was a bit of a safer approach so that he didn't fail. But it worked. Had a bit of a sketchy moment on the jumping spider. Had to recover, but fortunately he did. And he did the 360 on the warped wall just for fun. Although normally I would kind of maybe condemn people for doing any sort of trickery on Midoriyama, because it is a timed course. But it's whatever. I'll let it slide this time. He ended up going for high road. One of the few people we actually saw attempt high road. He hit the trampoline, landed it perfectly, and I was just, boom! I stood up, was like, yes! He got it. He did a one-hand fist bump as the thing slid down, and then he cleared easily with 14.28 seconds left, really showcasing how much time you can save with the high road as opposed to doing the flying hooks. It's part of the reason why I think that Tiana could have cleared stage 1 if she went for it, but we'll never know. But yes, I feel bad that I didn't pick Donovan to move on to stage 1 ahead of time, but I am happy to see him move on to stage 2. So, congratulations, Donovan. Hopefully you continue to do well. In more fast forwards, Caden Maclazin timed out on the flying hooks. Caden Lebsack ended up clearing second fastest time so far, 31.05 seconds left on the clock. They did mention that ninjas consider him one of the best ninjas there is, but you wouldn't know that with how he was presented, because they skipped a semifinal run and they skipped this run, and it's like, well, he's not winning, otherwise he would have given him more airtime. That's the unfortunate aspect of the editing for this show, is that if someone gets a fast forward clear on stage 1, they ain't winning. You already know they ain't winning. So, it is what it is. Joe Moroski was the final run that they showcased in this episode. And in his profile, they said that he doesn't, even though he has a safety pass, he doesn't want to use it. He never wants to use it. Now, hindsight being 2020, this should have been a clue. But I will say that ANW has been doing a relatively good job this year, making it look like that they're projecting that something's going to happen, and then not following through on it. And it just never dawned on me that he was going to fail the stage, which is why I had no problem with what they did with his profile and his interview. Because it's like, yeah, of course he was going to say that he doesn't want to use the safety pass. That's like a normal thing for anyone competing to say. It's like, yeah, I have the safety pass, but I don't want to have to use it. That's just a natural thing for a ninja to say. So Joe, he was looking good on the course. You know, he's beaten stage 1 lots of times. He's only failed it once in 9 times he's competed on the show? Something like that? 8 times prior to this? I lose track of how many times he's competed. He had a minute 23 left at the warped wall. He ended up going for the high road. He goes, he jumps, he gets the height, but he's too early with the jump. So the ring is behind him, and on the way down, he knows he's going to fall. And I was actually shocked. And I think what made it worse is that he didn't need it. He didn't need to go for it. He very easily could have cleared. Maybe he wanted a fast time so that he can go later on stage 2. But, yeah. Joe Moroski ended up failing stage 1 in a shocking manner and was forced to use his safety pass. As he got out of the water, he was pissed. So angry. He rips off his safety pass. He's like, pathetic. Literally just yells pathetic. Throws the safety pass in the water. He's like, I can't believe I failed. This is pathetic. He's just so angry at himself. He told Zoe, it's like trampolines is like the one thing that he's good at. It's like it's the one thing that he says he's the best at. And the fact that he failed a trampoline jump makes him so mad. I understand. Look, Joe's passionate. I think that's the best way to describe it. Joe is passionate about Ninja. He's passionate about wanting to succeed, wanting to do well, and maybe using it to provide for his family. So I understand the frustration. If you go to his Instagram, you learn that he was sick when they were filming. He kept going to the bathroom. Sounds like he had food poisoning. That's my impression from his description. So that sucks. He couldn't get he couldn't get a proper warm up. I'm gonna guess that he ended up getting a day's rest because of the weird filming schedule. That's just me. But yeah, good on ANW for actually ending stage 1 on a fail. They don't do it very often. I think ANW 6 is the only time they ended a stage 1 episode with a fail with Casey. And that's just because they wanted to show Casey last, so people would continue watching to the end of the episode. But yeah, this surprised me. And so I think that's kind of the impression I'm getting with ANW is that they've been working the editing a bit to teach you to temper your expectations, manage your expectations in terms of how the show's edited and how the show's presented, because it's definitely not what it's been this year. What this year is definitely not what it's been in years past, and I appreciate that. So honestly, I enjoyed this episode. It's stage 1 of Vegas. It's hard for them to mess it up. Honestly, at this point, they need to mess it up pretty badly in order for me to not like stage 1. Because like I said in the beginning of the episode, a mediocre stage 1 to me is more enjoyable than a good semifinal episode. Just because, you need stage 1. Ninja Warrior at its core is Midoriyama, the 4-stage obstacle course. And so stage 1, it's hard to mess up. Stage 2 is very easy to mess up, as ANW has showed many times in the past. And hopefully that won't be the case this year. But Stage 1's hard to mess up, and I enjoyed it, you know? Not everyone is going to be crazy about the high road. I understand the complaints against it. I'm fine with it. I think I understand them not forcing people to commit to the high road upon pressing the button. I will say, just as a final note about the high road, I like to think that someone was watching Kunoichi when they designed that obstacle, because for those of you who don't know, there is a all-women's version of Sasuke known as Kunoichi, or Women of Ninja Warrior, as it airs in countries outside of Japan, where 100 women take on a 4-stage obstacle course, and for a couple of tournaments, there was an obstacle called the Flying Pillar, where you press a button, a pillar starts to release, and you had to run across 2 balance logs, and then jump, grab the pillar as it's coming down in order to transfer to the landing platform across a pit of water. The high road is a very similar concept, except instead of, a pair of balance poles, it's, the dipping birds. It's a similar concept, and I like to think that someone was watching Kunoichi when they did that. So, all in all, so far, on stage 1, we've seen 1 person fail the slide surfer, 2 fail swinging blades, 5 fail the double dipper, 7, wow, fail the jumping spider, 3 failed tire run, no one failed the warped wall, 3 failed dipping birds, not angry birds, dipping birds, 2 failed the high road, and 3 people timed out on the fly hooks. And all in all, so far we have 12 people who cleared the course so far of stage 1, and the top 12 from fastest to slowest are Isaiah Thomas, Katie Lebsek, Tyler Gillette, Sean Bryan, Matt Bradley, Austin Gray, Vance Walker, Donovan Matoya, Kevin Carbone, Max Feiberg, Elijah Browning, and Adam Rail. And I just realized that I forgot to mention Austin Gray's clear. Because it was after Elijah Browning, and I accidentally skipped it. Yes, they fast-forward Austin Gray, which sucks. It seems like only when they have to feature Austin Gray, they actually will feature Austin Gray. But he gets to keep his safety pass and has 24.28 seconds left on the clock when he clears stage 1. So, okay, congratulations to him. Unlike ANW, I won't forget you, Austin, even though I kind of did forget you at first. But hey, so next week we got the finale of stage 1 plus the beginning of stage 2. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do predictions for stage 2 specifically based on the people that we know cleared stage 1. It is what it is. I accept it. And we're just going to have to sit back, relax, and know what happens. So it's very possible, depending on how they edit the episodes, that we might see 2 runs from the same person in next week's episode. Might see someone run stage 1, clear, and then run stage 2, and possibly fail. I feel like that's something they would do. Maybe. Who knows? My pick to win it all, Jake Murray, is running next week, and I get the feeling that he is going to be the fastest time of stage 1. That's my impression from the edit. But yes, ending on a cliffhanger is a bold decision. Joe Moroski, forced to use the safety pass, has to run in next week's episode. We'll have to see what happens. Tune in next time to find out. Very clever of you, ANW, to end on a cliffhanger like that. I respect it. Hey, thank you all very much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That way you'll know when my review of the next episode goes live. And hey, watch my reviews of the entire season and seasons past of American Ninja Warrior. I'll see you later. Goodbye.